everybody's in this weird situation now, and then they're having children, and now they all have food allergies, they all have behavior issues, they're all depressed and anxious, and it's like, well, yeah, because the parents are. And not only did they have the genes that they passed down to them, they're also creating that environment.
Podcast.
So,
Talking.
You know what I've been noticing?
Yikes.
The
What?
protein is messing with me.
I know.
I don't
The
like it.
things that you want to be, you're different. Do you want to fight it? You want it to be real for you?
It's consistent, and it's the same like every time after I have it.
You know, a
So it's
lot
like-
of people have an issue with whey protein, though.
Yeah.
Like,
I gotta mix it up or try something different, because it's just like, well, this probably isn't working well with me, obviously, since I always am. It's just like you feel bloated, or like my digestion gets real weird, and I feel like I gotta go to the bathroom all the time after having it, and it sucks.
you know, it is weird though. Like what is whey?
Science alert. It's some sort of coming from dairy. So that could be why. But
Okay.
I believe, if I remember right, I don't remember, but if I remember right, it's just like the protein that comes from the dairy source. What's the protein stripped from the dairy.
Got it. Because I've tried plant-based protein powders before, and it works really well for my stomach. Well, I guess it did back in the day. I don't know if I've had like a new.
Even now, you got a hair just kind of sticking to your.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, feel it. Is it gone?
There's another one. I just know you'd be very frustrated if you edited it and saw hair. Yeah, I know. I think you gotta go like up and back. That'll probably do it. All just a trick to get you to.
Is it on my forehead?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
It was though the whole time.
What is whey?
Yeah,
What
look it up, because
is whey? But the plant protein, what makes me weird about it, and maybe this would make me just as weary about it, is like I don't know what's in it. Like most of the time, it's just like, oh, is this so like fake or?
Well, that's the problem with powdered proteins and everything. Is like it's not. It's coming from a natural source, but it's so processed down that it's just another highly processed food. It's good for adding protein to your diet, but it's not like, I don't know, it's not the most amazing thing ever, especially when it's like not working with your digestive system or working with your gut. It's like I get uncomfortable every time I drink it, so it's like I need to do something else or figure something else out with it. So maybe it's trying like a plant protein or something. It just sucks because like whey is the cheapest and most accessible one, that now it's like, oh, I gotta try more expensive ones and find you're starting to get sun on your.
Whey is the liquid remaining after milk has been curdled or strained. It is the byproduct of the manufacturing of cheese or casein and has several commercial uses. Sweet whey is a byproduct resulting from the manufacture of... Okay, but then it also says 1 liquid cup, would be 2.1 grams of protein.
Yeah, but it's super processed down. That's how they get it so dense. It's just like a cup of milk is like 6 grams of protein. To where it's like if you were to take that liquid and condense it down to a powder form, it's going to be real small amount.
Sure.
And then you load up whatever a scoop would be in.
Got it.
Yeah. I should try casein again, because that, if I remember right, didn't upset my stomach or digestion. I always remember liking casein because it didn't give me that bloat and didn't give me the digestive stuff. So I should just try that first and go to that and see.
That's the one that's like really long lasting, right? Like it fills you up for a super long time.
No, I mean, they say like with whey, you get really full really fast. That's typically what people talk about. With the casein thing, they say it's like a slower absorption protein, so you don't feel as full as quick and you don't get the bloating or whatever, which I don't know if the slow absorption of the protein has any weight to it. It's probably just like a bodybuilder bullshit thing.
Got it.
But it's like if you don't bloat and don't have digestive issues with it, it's probably a better alternative. It's working better with your system compared to the whey. So yeah, I should try the casein because I forgot about that, and that seemed to always work. I'd get the Optimum Nutrition one, the blue label, and that was like, I wouldn't get that super full feeling like you do with whey, and then I don't remember having digestive issues with it. But yeah, it's just annoying. It's annoying when like something isn't working with you. And it's like, well, I want to have this thing, but it's not working.
It's weird how much of an emotional response I have to that, because I've been having that for so many years with my gut issues. That's just like, I just feel so weak. Like, really? My body can't handle.
Well, and it could be like healthy stuff too. It's like,
yeah, like that's what's annoying. It's just like, okay, sure, I have ice cream and my stomach hurts. Okay. Well, I have donuts in my stomach. Okay. But like, I have some salad or like rice or like you said, the protein powder. I mean, not even processed stuff, just like whole natural foods. And it's just like, why can't I handle this?
Yeah. Or just we're lame and we don't want to change. It's like we like our routine and the things that we do and the easeful of it too. It's like how easy is it to do like just rice with, a protein, chicken, ground beef or ground turkey or something, and cook up a quick vegetable, and it's just like a rice bowl. It's so easy. But then it's like, oh, now we're both getting bothered by rice. Cool. Or not now. We probably have been for forever, but you never fixed that, by the way.
What am I pulling this down?
Yeah, you just got sun on your face. Yeah, that's good. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Carly with the apples.
It's like, is it like apples, it's too sweet?
Well, no,
not too sweet, but like,
if I remember right, yeah, it's like she gets super full from it, and like she starts bloating. Mm-hmm. It's like,
I don't get the bloat
from a freaking apple.
Yeah, I don't get the bloat, but I have had that with the apples, where it's like, this is almost too sweet. It's like kind of giving me gut rot.
Yeah, I wonder if you just ate it with something else, or just like do half an apple. You know, just do less than what you usually do, or if you ate something before it and then.
Well, I know certain kinds of apples give me that reaction more than others. Like, it's definitely the big.
Oh, sure.
Real juicy ones. That's like, I don't know if they're. What are the Gala? Is that the big, like the really big ones?
No, the big ones is like Pink Lady, I think.
Okay, those ones I can't. It is. It's like, this is a meal.
I can't.
It's too big, and then like just the.
How much
of
it
sweetness is.
What I'm curious about is it the wax on them?
Well, yeah.
Or is it just the apple and it's that much? Because that's the other thing. It's like you go to my mom's and you pick an apple off the apple tree. It's like barely the size of my fist.
And it's not
it's like
sweet.
It's small to where the ones you get at the store, they're all softball size now. Yeah. That's like you're just trying to. It's like the chickens and the chicken breasts. How they're like huge. It's like you're just trying to fill people up with this. So they're less nutrient dense and they're just bigger to fill you up. So it's like, of course you're probably getting gut rot or feeling bloated or super full because you ate a softball sized apple. It doesn't have a lot of nutrients. Probably got just a shit ton of water. Yeah.
I wonder, we've been having that conversation lately, and one of a student that I used to teach, her mom, they just had another kid, and that kid is dealing with, some autoimmune issues and like skin rashes and eczema and really bad like allergies and whatever. And so she's diving more into kind of what could this be, what could be affecting this, and she's working with a therapist too, like a food specifically for this. And I wonder what, like, not the aftermath, but kind of like, will we ever get to a point in society, or at least in this country, where we're like, oh, okay, we got to like halt a second. Like, our kids are getting way too messed up, or like people around us are getting too messed up, or like, I think when we do more research, or we are learning more about this, it's kind of like what I said how many episodes ago, like, nothing shocks me anymore. Like, yeah, of course we're getting cancers. Yeah, of course we're having all these issues as adults, but now that it's really showing up heavily in kids, and even like behavioral issues because of maybe what was passed down from the pregnancy, or what they're experiencing or being introduced to at a very young age with food and the environment and stuff that's in the home. That's like, I don't know, like, how bad is it going to get before more people are like, hey, we should like watch what we're doing?
Yeah. I don't think, I don't know. I don't think it'll happen really, because it's like you only realize it or start to do anything when it starts happening to you.
Sure.
Or your kid.
Yeah.
To where if it's not happening to you directly, like, you're like, oh, it'll never happen to me, or you don't pay attention to it or don't care. And for most people, it's not happening to them.
Yeah.
Probably most people with kids, they're not dealing with the, food allergies to everything, and eczema issue and all that kind of stuff.
But that's what I wonder, is how many parents are dealing with this, but they're not relating the where it's coming from. Like, they just think, oh, this is just you're a kid, you having these issues.
Well, are you talking more like the behavioral issues and that sort of thing?
Behavioral issues, or like, not like, it's not, like, did I tell you about how they're now adjusting the,
crawling?
Yeah, but what is that called? Like,
development?
Yeah, like, guess like the stages of development, like what is supposed to be like nationally, what you're supposed to go by, or what doctors go by, of like, oh, the baby's at 6 months, you should be doing this. Yeah, to like make sure that they're kind of developing properly.
Yeah.
That even that, like, certain things we're either taking out or we're moving the ages farther because the kids aren't developing these things as quickly as they used to. So it's like, okay, but that's not random. Like, that has to be associated with something. Or you listen to all these kindergarten teachers and they're like, we've been school teachers for 30 years and we have never seen kids like how it has been in the last 5. Like, these kids are so underdeveloped. They're like, their motor skills are not where they're supposed to be. They're falling out of their, they're just falling out of their chairs because they don't have the stability or like proprioception to stay in a chair. That it's like, and yeah, like, babies aren't crawling anymore. Not everybody, but like that's not a part of the protocol, kind of.
That's not
and
part
then, like,
of their like developmental.
Yeah.
Hey, they should be crawling by this age.
Well, they're saying that doesn't even need to be a part of the
anymore.
functions.
They
They're like, if your baby doesn't crawl, it's fine.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, yes, it's probably fine. But it's just kind of that mindset of like, oh, these things aren't happening, so now let's just adjust the framework around it, versus why is that happening? Why are so many kids getting these autoimmune issues and ADHD and anxiety and like having these weird, very strong allergies, or like you said, like the behavior issues that are maybe a little bit more extreme?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Well, you should look that up. The presidential fitness test. They used to do that back in the day, and I think that was a rough guide of, if you're this age, this is how many push-ups you should be able to do, pull-ups, sit-ups, that sort of thing. I think it was more of like a in-school thing.
Oh, okay.
And they don't do that anymore. I mean, they don't do a push-up test, a pull-up test, hang from a bar, like sit-ups, none of that.
Yeah.
It's like and it's going along with what you're talking about with the crawling thing. It's like, not enough kids are able to do this anymore by this time, so we just take this kind of checkpoint out to where it's like, no, it shouldn't be take the checkpoint out. It's like, we need to see that this is not a good a good situation, that most kids aren't crawling at this age anymore or whatever it is. But we just go like, oh, most people aren't doing that, so we'll just take it out, because that's not actually what having development, like being on the track to being of your development is. And same with the fitness test. It's like, well, most people can't do it anymore, so it's not really a great guide of who's fit and who's not. It's like, no, it's still probably a really good guide. It's just that shows how unfit we are now. It's like you're just taking it out because most people don't do it. That's silly. Did you find it? I think this was called the presidential fitness test.
Yeah, no, I think it's right, but it goes to Twitter.
X.
X, yeah.
Jeez. Wow. I'm not even on social media.
That's weird. I don't know.
The one that doesn't. But yeah, it's happens probably a lot and we don't notice it, or it's very little things, but it's like you said, it's not the direction that we want to be going. It's like, oh, we can't do these things anymore, so we'll just take that checkpoint out, or we'll take the test of your development or fitness or whatever, and we just won't do it anymore. It's like in school. It's like if they were to do that with your curriculum or your education, where it's like, well, most kids can't learn this math stuff by this time anymore, so we'll just take it out and not do it. It's like, well, no, that means we're falling behind as a society, and you're just like skewing the results now. It's like, well, so we're becoming less fit, less educated.
Yeah.
And your solution is to like, just so nobody feels bad, we're going to just take this test out, or we're going to take this developmental stage out so that nobody feels bad about your kid can't crawl at this age, or you can't do this many push-ups, or like you don't know how to do these math problems. It's like, it's okay. You're still normal. It's like, no, you're behind and you need to do better and catch up.
I would love to know what a parent would think about this, or like how many, because the mom was saying like that the doctor that she goes to for working with her child that has these issues, they were both this husband and wife were practicing doctors in a different separate fields, and then they both quit their practice and came to do this together, like just solely to focus on treating kids with this. And she was saying like there's a lot of like parents that are around the age of like 25 to 35. That's where we're really seeing this uptick. And she thinks it's also because of the emotional stress or lack of stability in the adults of that generation, like, isn't great. So now all of the chemical reactions that are happening in our body, like they said, like the biggest thing of eczema, where it comes from, is high cortisol levels in the baby, even if it's in a fetus. So it's like, okay, so is this generation also just not physically healthy themselves, mentally healthy all around, and we're kind of just getting weaker as a society, and now our babies are like their functions are getting messed up.
Yeah, that was like the podcast I listened to, the Modern Wisdom, and Dr. Robert Sapolsky on it. And he was talking about how like they've been able to do research and studies and find that what is the word? Why do I want to say feces? It's not feces.
Shit.
The baby in the womb, whatever the hell that's called. The fetus is like the genes it's getting from its mother is a lot more specific than we thought it was. Like they're getting the more anxiety gene. So if you have more anxiety as a person and you're having a child, like you're probably going to pass that on to your kid. Yeah. And they're able to find these in specific genes now, that they were even talking about like the financial situation. Yeah. If you're financially not doing well, and the stress that you have from that, and you have a child, your child is going to have the genes to have to basically feel like they're in poverty all the time. So then when they grow up, if that environment fosters that that attitude or whatever, that kid is also going to struggle and have a hard time getting past the financial aspect of life.
Yeah.
That it's like, we're talking about something that's like materialistic almost, of financial issues. We're not just talking about like, oh, my dad was an angry man, so I'm an angry man, whatever. It's like, no, you being financially not doing well is going to pass on to your kids as well. And that was kind of the, not caveat, but like also part of the equation is like, but it also, once they're born, the environment has to be that as well. So if you grew up not doing financially well, but then when you had the child, you started to do well financially, and then the environment that you were creating for your child, it's not going to like flourish that gene of them being, it's the same with the anxiety or the depression thing. It's like, if you struggle with depression throughout your life and then you have a child, if you're creating an environment that is healthy and doesn't like flame up anxiety or depression or whatever, that gene in that child won't come about and won't grow as much, if that makes sense. So it's like, you kind of have to have the environment as well. It's not just, oh, I have this gene, so I'm going to be anxious and depressed, or like, I'm anxious and depressed and bad financial situation, so my kid's going to have that too. It's like, no, the environment once they're born, it's the nature nurture thing. And they're just explaining that it's both of those things.
Yeah.
But it's going to such a specific, minuscule level than we thought it was. Yeah. And going back to what you're talking about, of just, we're seeing more and more of kids having ADHD, kids having behavior issues, kids having food allergies, and, the eczema issues, and like all of these problems that didn't seem to exist or we had, 30, 40, 50 years ago, maybe. It's so much more prevalent now. And it's like, well, after listening to him, it makes sense to me of like, well, yeah, most of the, like you said, 25 to 35 age group, we're in this new society now where it's like, everybody's talking about how they're anxious and depressed, and everybody's worried about their financial situation, and everybody has food allergies and weird stuff with food because they're not eating whole natural foods. They're eating processed crap, or even the whole natural foods that you're getting is sprayed with chemicals, because not everybody's buying organic. And even if you buy organic, like, you can't trust that that's organic and not sprayed with herbicides and pesticides and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, everybody's in this weird situation now, and then they're having children, and now they all have food allergies, they all have behavior issues, they're all depressed and anxious. And it's like, well, yeah, because the parents are. And not only did they have the genes that they passed down to them, they're also creating that environment. I mean, it's like, look at the 25 to 35 population of probably the most prevalent on social media. And what is social media? It's like just this anxious, depressed, angry place most of the time. And that's where your life is going and consuming to. That now you have children, and what do you think you're going to be passing on to them?
Well, and this age bracket, and we're in that age bracket, so I feel like we're definitely the lowest scale of that, but I think it was also a transition time of like old school to new school, and that's okay, every generation, but I think right now, like the 25 to maybe 40s, or like later 30s, it seemed like there was a lot socially that was changing. Like, whether it was, like, oh, people are getting into bigger and crazier jobs. So then status and money and women doing that as well was also like heavily pushed. So now, okay, we're focusing more on that part of our life. So then we're going to not focus on what we're eating, our physical fitness, our relationship building and community, because we're so isolated to what we need to do and what we need to do to be successful. And then there's also that swing of like, well, you can, like, divorce is higher, and the ability to like not keep relationships. And because social media and all this internet stuff is becoming bigger, like the way that you even go about that now is different.
Way different.
So
who's meeting at bars or like in the grocery store or something? It's like it's all apps now.
And it's like even just the stress of that, like, that we don't consider. Like, we're on our phones all the time, or we're on our computer all the time. Like, that is stressing our brain still. Like, even if it's a fun activity, like, that light is still stressing our brain.
Well, and it's stress kind of in a weird way. And like what you're saying, different as before. It's
peer pressure stress too. Like,
well, there's definitely, I feel like, more of that. Like, there's a more keeping up with the Joneses, and a more like you got to be on the trend, otherwise you're not cool or whatever. And it's like it's thrown in your face 24/7. You know, it used to be like
just your neighbors.
Yeah, you're just worried about your neighbors and what they are doing. It's like, oh, they got a new car, or they got this or whatever. They have
a better grass. They have better looking grass and lawn.
To where now it's like you're seeing multimillionaires, and you're comparing yourselves to them and trying to keep up with them. And it's like, yeah, that's going to make you depressed.
Sure.
Like, you're not there and probably won't be there. But the social, like you said, the social change, I think we've become less social. It's this fake kind of manufactured socialness, the with social media and everything, that, you know, even when we were growing up, I feel like it was changing, but we still went and hung out with friends, and I don't know, just like was into social activities. And even before us, like, you hear our parents' stories or grandparents' stories, it's like they were just out and about doing stuff together all the time. You know, it's like your dad always says about, you knew where everybody was at because of where the bikes were, like what lawn had all the bikes in it. And you just kind of like dropped your bike there and popped in and was hanging out. To where now everybody's social interaction is just online. Why would I need to go to your house when I can just FaceTime you?
Yeah.
Or text you or whatever, Instagram message. Like, I'm basically always in contact with you 24/7. Because it's always just right there, to where it never used to be, and you'd have to go hang out with that person, and that was more meaningful. And to me, it's like it's another like check mark to the convenience thing. It's just more convenient. Everything's it's more convenient to be social, or to do socialization this way. Like, I'll just text you, I'll just Snapchat you, I'll just, you know, FaceTime you. We don't need to go to a concert, or we don't need to go to each other's house and hang out. Like, we'll just like pop on the FaceTime, and I'll just sit here and whatever. And then it's like, even when you're doing that, you're probably on your phone messaging other people. So now it's like there's this ADHD thing happening. Is like, you can't even be present with the person, you're still doing something else. And that socialization is just not, it's not how it used to be. So then now when you go to dating, or go to, like, we're at school and we actually have to be around each other, or you go to the workplace, and even that, look at the workplace, everybody wants to work from home. They don't want to be around people. It's like we're becoming so not social, but it feels like we're super social because of all of the apps. And it's kind of this fake manufactured thing, and it's not giving you the real fix. And I feel like there's some sort of I wonder if there's some sort of like chemical, you know, hormone, dopamine thing that's like you get when you're with somebody, but you don't get as much when you're not with them. So now you're just constantly chasing this kind of dopamine fix, and it's like, well, let me scroll through TikTok and see what excites me. Let me go on, you know, a different social, Instagram, and then to Facebook, and then to Twitter, and then none of those work. So let me just restart and go back to TikTok. It's like, just go hang out with a friend and go do something, and you'll probably get what you're looking for. But that's not convenient. That's too much work. That's too much whatever. And now everybody's introverted and doesn't want to hang out and do anything.
And I don't think it's a all or nothing, because there's obviously some positives that come from this era. It's like, I work a lot from my computer, and that's mostly, you know, a lot of my work, or we live away. So that allows us to still communicate with people and talk to family and stuff. So I'm happy that it's there, and like using the technology for good. It's like you said, like, there's so much information. If you're interested in something, like, you can just learn more. Like, you can just learning is so available to you. I think we need to just, again, like anything, like, have balance.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I notice on the weekends when you're gone, like, I'll put my phone on airplane mode for a little bit, and it's just like, I don't let it be a part of my day. I try to not need it. I try to find other ways to, like, figure out maybe what I need or whatever. And it's crazy how much comes up for me noticing like, oh, I am never really in silence that much.
Yeah.
Like I'll have a podcast on, I'll have music on, we'll be talking or whatever. It's like, oh, I don't really just like sit and think a whole bunch. And I love doing that. But it's typically like, well, but I'll have something on in the background and then I can be thinking to where if I'm like completely silent, it's almost like that allows for a little bit of a different style of productivity.
Yeah, well, and I think it's just that finally you're not chasing or having a little bit of a dopamine jolt.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we get so like it's so easy to have that now. We can put a podcast on and you're sitting there kind of listening, and then all of a sudden something funny happens or something intriguing, so you just get this little jolt. And I think we're just doing that all day, every day. You're always going to your phone. You're always having a podcast on, having music on, doing something to where there's something else to have in just it being quiet and silent and nothing, or just like being with people and it not having to be like super exhilarating or exciting, but we're all chasing dopamine and this thing all the time and something to do. And it's like, look at how many people, you know, they have to have nicotine gum, or they gotta vape, or they gotta, you know, have an edible, they gotta have a drink. They like, everybody's got a fix if nothing's going on. And even while shit's going on, I mean, how many people have the TV on, then they're on their phone, and then maybe they have their laptop on too, doing something.
Yeah.
It's like we're chasing the dopamine so much all the time. And then it's like, you wonder why you're anxious all the time. It's like, because you always have 15 things going on. And when that's not the case, it's like, it's kind of just 15 distractions. But when that's not the case and you only got 12 things going on, you start freaking out. It's like, well, yeah, because you're so revved and ramped up that you don't even know how to sit and be calm and that be okay and be safe. It's like it's like anything, you got to practice it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's so funny how we don't, as adults, maybe recognize our behavior changes, but then in kids, like I always think it's just a little bit easier to see in kids because they're so obvious about it.
Oh yeah, they're so extreme.
That, like, I was having a conversation with a studio director at one of our last events, and she's saying, like, you know, that kids are just getting crazier in her classes or whatever. It's like a person that has been teaching for decades and decades, and she's kind of like talking to me like through what she does in classes and whatever. And I was like, you know what? I had one of those classes where it was just like a little bit chaotic, and I noticed it was a huge shift, like what environment they walked into. And if it was too noisy or too, like what we would think is like a fun environment,
too much
like
excitement.
It was too much for them.
Yeah.
And now knowing like kids are so, their senses or their ability to adjust their senses aren't developed yet. So like,
it's hard to focus.
Yeah. So like when we hear something, it's like it's like having music on, the TV on, someone's trying to talk to you, another conversation is happening over here, and then there's like flashing lights everywhere. Yeah. It's like that's how extreme it is for kids, at least from what research shows me.
Yeah.
That I wonder how much of that kind of stuff, because we're pushing that to kids so much and thinking like, oh, it's fine because we do that, their brains are not getting developed. So then as adults, like maybe that was happening when we were kids, and now that's why we have all these ADHD upkicks or those kinds of things, upkicks, because that part of our brain never got developed because we've always been surrounded by phones and computers and shows and all this fun extra stuff, but like our brain didn't get to process it. So now as adults, it's the same. Yeah,
we didn't work that muscle, or we weren't in an environment where it was calm much of the time, and that to be okay. It's like what you've brought up before of listening to, I don't remember who it was, but it was that lady that was talking, that you've listened to about kid development and that sort of thing, and like the classrooms of how the decor in the classrooms and what they have in the classrooms, of it being a whole bunch of colors and a lot of different things and all that. It's like, that's too much for kids.
Yeah.
And that's totally, like, you would think with kids, it's like, you want to make it bright and exciting and, you know, like, everything's cool and there's a lot of different things, but that's actually more overwhelming to them.
Yeah.
And it's going to make it harder for them to focus than to have, like, even just like duller colors or less of it. That is going to help the behavior and have them be in an environment that they can then focus on. It's like that. Look at what we grew up in. I mean, oh my God, it's like, it's colors everywhere. And we're definitely a part of that group of.
Every game had a flashing light on it or some noise like, that it made.
The whole room is exciting as soon as you walk into it. And then, behavior is weird. And it's hard to do that. And then it makes me think about raising kids and like, okay, how do you want their bedroom to be? You know, it's like, it's so fun to have like a bunch of different colors and games and, you know, a million toys and all that kind of stuff, because you want to give that to your kids. But at the same time, like, are you helping them for the future? Are you helping them develop for the future? It's like, not really. According to the research, it's like, you kind of want it to be just like plain Jane room and not a lot going on and very like calm and subtle, and kind of probably the same with the rest of your house, because they're just going to be wound up all the time because of the environment. And then you're going to have all these issues. Yep. It's like, well, I don't want to deal with all these issues. So sorry, we have to sacrifice a fun, colorful room with a million toys, but we're going to do freaking dark green. And, you know,
well, they say like cooling colors are what, I don't know if that's also the colors that they start to see first, but it's the same way like our adult brains register those colors as relaxing too, like the blues and the like what you would see like at a beach, like those kinds of colors, like tans and neutrals, and then like soft blues. Yeah, that it's like, you think about the lady that she was talking about, she's like, your room should make sense. Like, and then you think about that more. It's like, we're putting our adult needs into that. Like, any room isn't exciting for a kid because they have imagination. Like, they're fun enough. Like, they make anything exciting or fun. It's like, you see a kid and you give them a bag and they are like off to the races with, this bag is this, and we're gonna make a whole game around this. Like, it's a stupid bag, but we can't process how you could make that fun. God.
The best Christmas ever with the nieces and nephews. They get all these toys and different things, and they spent like a half hour to 45 minutes just playing with the wrapping paper. It's like, I'm sure that happens in everybody's household probably, but it's like, it's not the toy.
That's happened with every single Christmas since those babies have been born. We get like, we try to like put so much time and effort into the presents, and then we'll get like one throwaway, like, oh, this is going to be just like something that they can quickly open. There's nothing to set up. So like when the adults are opening the presents, like they can be playing with this. That is always the hit. Yeah. It's like, we got like the little dinosaur hand puppets, and we're like, okay, whatever. That's all that they played with.
They just had that on their hand and just walked around with that the whole time. It's playing with wrapping paper.
Yeah, it's like, kids have all of the stuff that they need already. They don't need the environment. Adults, we need the environment. We need other things to bring the fun. Yeah. It's like, kids already have that. So if you can make the space just cohesive and make sense. Like she was saying, like, think of all of your senses. You shouldn't be overwhelming, or you shouldn't be touching on necessarily all of them at once. Or just the same way that you would have your home. She's like, if you had curtains hung up, you go into a preschool classroom or kindergarten classroom, and it's like, this one has pencils and rulers on it, and that one has something that's like the season. That one has something else. Like, well, you would never put that in your house. And to a kid that's like, what am I looking at? Yeah. That's like, okay, so say their room at home. What's the purpose of the room? You want them to sleep well. You want them to feel relaxed in that room. Like, don't be shoving a bunch of colors and cool lights in there or all their toys, because a kid with a crazy imagination, or like their only goal in life is just to have fun at that time, and then you're gonna go to sleep, don't play with all these awesome toys in here.
And then like there's such cool colors and posters and all this shit on the walls. And well, it's like you said, like she said that it should make sense. It's like, would you, if you didn't have the kid, would you decorate this room this way?
Sure.
You know, it's like with all this crazy, it's like, no, you'd probably try to go with some sort of theme or some sort of color combo or whatever. And that's going to be, even if it's like not the cooling colors and it's the bright colors and it's the exciting ones, but at least it makes sense. Like, it's like if you have a Barbie themed room, it's like you have that all fit together.
Right.
You don't have that. And then also all these other things going on. And it's maybe stupid too to like think about and put together, because it's like you're not going to only get them Barbie stuff for their room or do this for their room. But I think if you just make it simplistic of like, well, we'll just do like a regular color wall, or maybe just one of them will be like a blue wall and the others will be like gray or white or something. And then we just have like a normal dresser, not a freaking hot pink with crazy things on it, and not doing a banner around the wall that's like, you know, Elsa and Frankenstein and all this random crap going on. Because you're right. It's like you want your kid to go to sleep in that room. Then it's like, how are they gonna reel it in to go to sleep? And even just like, oh, go play in your room, and it's like, and they walk in there, and it's that room just like excites them so much, and not necessarily even in a positive way. And then they come out and they're just like, I'm hungry. Let's make food. Yeah. And it's like, what is going on with you? It's like, well, they were just like a prisoner with the bright light on their face. Yeah. You know, tell me information. And it's like, how do you expect them to react then? Yeah. And it's true for adults too. It's like, do you think your room or your home that's got so many crazy bright colors and accents or whatever, it's like you walk in and it's not homey. It's like, just like you're freaking out all the time. It's probably, like you said, you're tapping too many senses. Yeah. It's like having even like four people talk to you at once.
Organized or messy, or things like just out and everywhere. It's like our brain is trying to process everything that we see and hear and like are feeling. So I think that's the same thing with kids trying to, like, we don't need all of your toys out. You don't need like everything out in front of you, because that just seems overwhelming. So I think for me, I'd recognize that too. Like, oh, I'm about to work and I feel like I'm just kind of on edge. I'll clean first. Yeah. Because I know like that will allow my brain to settle into what's happening, versus like, I'm just going to keep focusing on everything else I see because my senses can't handle just this.
I'm totally that way too. I wonder if that's why, like we've said the last couple of days, that like your dad's house and your grandparents' house, it feels so homey there. Yeah. You think about your dad's place and the colors. It's like gray and blue and it's cool colors. The cool, like not cool, like.
And everything has a home. Like everything has a spot that it goes. Like everything is kind of organized. It's not chaotic. And it's simple. Like there's not just a bunch of crap everywhere. Right. Like.
And then with your grandparents, it's like oranges and reds and kind of, I don't know what color, like maybe brighter, but it's not even that. They're not bright colors.
It's like fall colors.
Yeah. But it's like, again, that both of those places fit and they make sense. And those are the two places where we're always like, God, it feels so homey here. It's like, yeah, because it's got a vibe. It's got a theme. Yes. It's not like, oh, you got a gray couch and then a blue chair and then a bright orange. Living room right now. Yeah. It's like, no wonder I'm crazy here. It's too much going on. But yeah, it when you put it together, it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense that those places feel comfortable. It's like, well, because it's got a theme going. It's got a, I don't know, it fits. It makes sense.
Yeah. I found the fitness test.
Yeah.
So it goes from ages 8 to 12. I don't know if there's one for younger. I did see one earlier, but it didn't give all of the like what this does, but they did start it at like age 5, I think. Okay, so boys, I'll just do a like the 8 the 10 and the 12s for both of them. I'm not going to do each age, but
yeah.
Boys for age 8 should be able to do 40 curl-ups. What's a curl-up?
I think it's a sit-up.
But what's a sit and reach? I bet you're right, though. Curl-up would probably be
I think that's what they call the sit-ups, curl-ups.
Okay, so 40 sit-ups for the shuttle run, which is a half a mile. No. 8 to 9-year-olds run a half a mile instead of mile.
Oh.
I don't know what a shuttle run is, though.
I think I did a shuttle run once. It's like blocks, and you got to do like, it's kind of like an agility thing a little bit. Like you got to take a block to a length, and then something like that, where it's like you got to go maybe 10 yards, grab a block, come back, then go 5 yards, grab a block, come back. It's something like that. Or you got to just go side to side or something. I can't remember.
They should be able to do it in 11.1 seconds.
Okay, yeah. So it's like a quick agility type thing.
Okay, sit and reach, which we don't know what that is.
Maybe it's just the like V-sit hold. Is it a timed thing? Or what?
No,
does it say
amount,
repetitions?
31. You should be able to do 31.
31 sit and reaches.
I don't know.
It's hilarious.
And then they should be able to run a half a mile in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. This is insane.
What?
They should be able to do 5 pull-ups.
What 8-year-old's doing 5 pull-ups now? I mean, well,
I don't know. They're kind of light.
Yeah, they're light. That's true. That won't be it. But a half a mile in 3.5 minutes?
Yeah, so
that means a 7-minute mile.
Yeah. There's no way.
Who's doing that?
Boys age 10, 45 curl-ups, the shuttle run 10 seconds or 10.3 seconds, 30 sit and reaches. Should be able to run the half, or they're running a full mile in 7 minutes and 57 seconds, and they should be able to do 6 pull-ups.
8-minute mile.
Yeah.
They should do 6 pull-ups?
6, yep. And then boys age 12, do you love how I'm sitting like this? Boys age 12 should be able to do 50 curl-ups, shuttle run.
Is there a time limit on the curl-ups, does it say, or is it just total?
Just total.
That's a lot. Maybe those are just crunches.
Curl-ups?
Think of 50 sit-ups. And maybe the sit and reaches
but they're not.
is a sit-up. Although they're still doing 30 sit and reaches.
Yeah.
Sit and reach. Oh my
God. Let me. Okay.
Sit and reach is hilarious.
What's a...
Watch, sit and reach is just like...
What's a curl-up? The sit-up or curl-up is an abdominal endurance training. Okay, so similar to a crunch. So it is the full...
Yeah, so curl-up is a sit-up.
Yeah. Oh, come on, go back.
That is crazy. What did they say? 50 curl-ups at age 12?
50. Yes, 50.
Makes me feel like I'm out of shape.
50 curl-ups at age 12. And now it's like a sit and reaches.
Yeah. Which it's funny because I feel like, you think or... kind of like what we said, like, oh yeah, for a 12-year-old and the pull-ups, they're lighter, all that kind of stuff. The same with the curl-up, like all of this stuff. They're a little bit, it's not as difficult to do it compared to when you're 30.
Yeah.
But it's like still the average 10 or 12-year-old's not going to be able to do these anymore.
Yeah, it is like a pike stretch, like feet out in front of you, able to reach and touch your toes. You should be able to do that 31 times.
Oh, are you on your back? And you reach up to touch your toes? I think that's what they kind of used to do in the day.
No, it looks like it's just like a stretching activity, or like to measure your stretching.
And you should be able to do... They had a repetition, 30 of them?
30 of them, which is weird because for boys...
So you're just sitting on your butt and then you just reach for your toes?
Yeah. Huh. For boys 8 and 9, 11 and 12, you should be able to do 31. But boys at age 10 only, you get to do 30.
Weird.
Okay, and then boys... age 12, 50 curl-ups, do the shuttle run in 9.8 seconds, the 31 sit and reaches, a full mile in 7 minutes and 11 seconds.
Wow.
And should be able to do 7 pull-ups.
I think the mile thing is the craziest one to me. That or the curl-ups.
Qualifying standard for national award, 50th percentile or higher.
Oh, is that what it's for?
No.
Oh, They have different amounts for the, like, to qualify for the national thing.
So this is for the 85th percentile or higher.
What you just said?
Yes.
Okay, that's
the best.
That's close. Yeah, it's, I think, 85th percentile. That's like the top 15%.
Okay.
So that is kind of the
cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Cream of the crop kids.
Yeah.
Okay, girls age 8 should be able to do 38 curl-ups, shuttle run in 11.8 seconds, 33 reach and sit and reaches, half mile in 10 minutes 2 seconds.
What? No, full mile in 10.
No, they do a half a mile.
Oh, you're talking shuttle run?
No. Girls of age 8 and 9 do a half mile. Same with boys.
In how much time?
10 minutes.
That doesn't make sense. Wow, the girls were really unathletic, huh?
Nothing's changed. 2 pull-ups. I mean, they're required to do this.
2 pull-ups, kind of impressive.
Yeah. Girls age, now let's go age 10, they should be able to do 40 curl-ups, 10.8 seconds for the shuttle run the full mile in 9 minutes and 19 seconds, and should be able to do 3 pull-ups. This is interesting. The boys, for the pull-ups, they should be able to do more as they get older. And then for the girls, age 8, it's 2. Age 9, it's 2. Age 10 and 11, it's 3 and 3. And then when you get to age 12, it goes back to 2. Maybe because they're getting heavier at 12, like with development.
Yeah, and they're
less strong.
They're not typically
they're not focusing on that.
Gaining much muscle mass.
Interesting. But still, like the 50th percentile.
Yeah, that I think is better because 50th percentile would basically be half.
So
it'd be average, I mean.
Boys, let's do like the top and the bottom. So boy age 8, 31 curl-ups, shuttle run in 12.2 seconds, 25 sit and reaches, running the half mile in 4 minutes and 22 seconds, and they should be able to do 1 pull-up. Boys at age 12 should be able to do 40 curl-ups, run the shuttle run in 10.6 seconds, reach and sits 26. I'm just going to stop saying that one. And a full mile in 8:40, and then be able to do 2 pull-ups.
Yeah, the pull-ups, the mile, and the sit-ups. That's just the sit-ups. That is gonna be so hard for them, I think. And then the pull-ups, it's not that many, but it's still, those are.
I bet it would be so much harder for kids nowadays to pull ups because they're overweight. To where like totally. Like kids back in the day, they were light. So like, what are you pulling?
Right, and it's the same with the curl ups and the running might be the closest, but even then, it's like those are fast times.
Yeah.
You know what the funniest part about this is, like, they're just not as mentally tough. That's why they're not going to be able to do it. They probably could do the curl ups and get there, but it's like they're going to quit before they even start pushing themselves. The pull ups is more of like, you can either do it or you can't. Mm-hmm. And then the running is definitely a mental thing too. It's like, are you going to push it to try to beat that time?
Yeah.
And kids just they're not going to be as mentally tough as they used to be.
Girls age 8, 29 curl-ups, shuttle run in 12.9 seconds. They run a half mile in 12 minutes and 30 seconds, and then 1 pull-up.
That's got to be wrong. Half mile in 12. But then when you said like the 12-year-olds had to run a full mile in like 9, so that doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean?
Earlier you said that the 8-year-olds or whatever had to run a half mile in, it was like 9 minutes or something, or 8. It was 10 minutes. But then
10.2, yeah.
The 12-year-olds had to run a full mile in 9 minutes.
They have smaller legs.
That doesn't make any sense. Because like with the boys, it was like half mile in 3.5 minutes. And then the next one, it was a full mile in like 7 minutes, 57 seconds.
7:11.
Or 7:11.
Or yeah, for the 10.
12-year-olds.
7:50, yeah.
But for girls, you run half a mile in like 10 minutes and then a full mile in 9. That doesn't make any sense. You're doubling the distance and you have to get faster. A faster time overall. It makes zero sense. That's like as an 8-year-old, you have to do 30 curl ups, but then as a 12-year-old, you got to do 80.
But do you think it's because like they think they're going to be able to like run faster because their legs are longer? Like the height?
They would have to like go from being an 8-year-old, like being not that athletic at all, to like a superstar in 4 years. They have to run double the distance in less time.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
And especially when you take the boys that run 3.5, have to run a half mile in 3.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's basically double. Now you have to run a mile, which is double a half mile. And then you get double the time to do it. To where for girls, you have to be faster, running double the amount of time. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
For the girls, it's like,
you're right. It doesn't make sense.
We'll give you the easy one as an 8-year-old, but then once you turn 12, you better be ready.
You better be ready.
Better get your shit together, because we're gonna make it super hard on you.
Yeah. Very weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about that. Like, you in the last couple years have been, well, yeah, it's like you've been in this world for a while, but specifically with like kids and doing these conditioning programs for them, specifically for dancers. We were talking about how on this one like Facebook group, someone asked like, how do they get their dancers more strong and not just flexible? And how I was saying like, oh, it's interesting how a lot of people's advice was just more stretching. Or just like more ways that it's like, actually it is just, you're just stretching more. That what have you noticed with working with the kids of like, I don't know, just like things that you would have changed in the way that we as dancers or whatever, that we've been doing it. And also just in kids, like, oh, you're surprised that like you think they'd be better at that, or you actually were surprised that they were good at that.
Oh, I think anything that I would change would just be to implement this stuff earlier, because it's kind of like you're not doing it for so long, and then all of a sudden like it's just like your movement patterns and everything is so dancer related, which it should be, because that's how you athletically perform the best as a dancer. But you need the balance and like the injury prevention side of it too, where you're doing things that are a little bit different than what you're already doing, so that you're not at more risk for injury. It's like most injuries in dancers is just repetitive stress doing the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is coming down to like not enough strength with how flexible they are. So you just are constantly like stretching that rubber band over and over again, and it's becoming looser and looser and looser, but then you're asking it to like fire explosively.
Yes.
To where you have this loose rubber band and then you're asking it to fire, and that's so much force with it being so stretched out that you're getting hip flexor pulls, hamstring pulls, calf pulls, like you're getting all of these like very similar injuries. That's just the muscle is getting pulled and strained because you're just stretching all the time, but then you're not working on building strength and explosiveness. So now you're asking the dancers to do these leaps or do these turns where it requires some sort of explosiveness, and they don't have the strength to do it. And then on top of that, they're so stretched out that's just like it's a recipe for pulling something. So I think implementing like the strength building, the strength training, and then some of the mobility stuff of like the mobility stuff is just helpful because I think it helps them. It helps the injury prevention part of like they have control in the full range of motion then, rather than just in this short area. And it's also teaching them more how to, even more so how to manipulate your body. That's what dancers are really good at, is like understanding their body and knowing how to move what in the way that they want it to where most people, you tell them, I mean, you're just training regular people.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we're going to do an overhead press. This is how we're going to do it. And they're like, instead of pushing it right up above their head, they're pushing it like forward.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I want you to push it straight up to the ceiling. They're like, I am. It's like,
I know.
No, you're not.
Isn't that so crazy?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm standing right in front of you. We're doing the same thing. Can you not see that we don't look the same?
Yeah. But with dancers, they're really good at that.
Sure.
They know how to move their body because that's what they've been doing for how many years. But most of it's just the injury prevention stuff and doing mobility. Like, I think you think of strength training and that sort of thing of like, I don't know, just like getting bulky, or that it won't really help you as a dancer. Like, I need to dance more. That's what the community pushes, is you just need to dance more and stretch more.
Yeah.
That's the two main advices to where building more strength is going to help you with all of the other stuff. And it's also going to help you like get a little bit away from the stretching all the time thing, to where most of the injuries are happening because of the overstretching.
Yes. We
see the stretching as like therapeutic and recovery, but it's just like anything. You do too much of it, it's now not an asset to you. It's detrimental. It's like you're overstretching, you're overdoing it. It's too much. Now you're going to have pulled muscles all the time. Or now, like when we want to do a leap, you can't because that rubber band's stretched so much. Well, we need to be a little bit tight so it can fire.
Well, and that's what's crazy too, is like even starting classes for my whole life, or most people, like you would start with stretching. Like you would do a group stretch to start class. Yeah. It's like, that is the most backwards thing to possibly do.
Yeah,
like,
and that's...
We're starting out the class or starting out your night by just like, let's give you the least amount of power ever.
Yeah.
Right
we're
at the
top. We're going to stretch you out, and then we're going to do leaps across the floor. Go.
Yeah.
It's like... And that's what's funny is like in other sports or...
You would never do that.
Athletic... No, you wouldn't. But you go to the gym and you see people doing that.
Yeah, and even that's like
you're about to get on the treadmill to go for a run, and you're like sitting there for 10 minutes stretching out your legs and your calves and whatever. It's like you don't realize you're just going to be doing this like small firing over and over and over again, and what you're doing is you're lengthening out all of the muscle that you possibly can, which is putting it in a relaxed state, and then you're going to ask it to be very unrelaxed for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like we can't be putting it in an unrelaxed state. We need to be putting your muscles in a state to be ready
produce force
and then be able to handle it too.
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird things of like, there's just for some reason an information barrier, or like
I was
there's
trying
a culture
to figure
that was built, and now it's like, I think a lot of what happens, and it happens in every area. Football players do it, basketball players do it, dancers do it, everybody does it, where it's like, this is how we were taught to do it, and this is what the culture does. We aren't changing it. We're dancers, we're different, and we need different things, and this is our different thing. We stretch a lot because we have to do that, and we need that. It's like, okay, but then why do you all have the same injuries all of the time?
And why do 8-year-olds have chronic injuries?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like your kids should not be having hip issues, knee issues, back issues.
Yeah.
When they're 8 years old, that's a sign that the training is not reflecting what you need to be doing. Potential of overtraining, but that's also just part of the culture. Is like we can't get away from the extensive schedule. Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's like I wonder if the culture part of it is built. Because I was trying to think, I was like, why do we always go to, because again, like those comments, everything was geared towards stretching, or even the strength building suggestions were like Pilates. It's like, unless you're going to bring a reformer into your studio and have each kid have a reformer, like it's just a different version of stretching. And it's just like I think of most conditioning classes that you would see at a dance studio is just a bunch of cardio and abs.
Oh, totally.
It's like they already have that.
Yeah. Well, and that's
you're
why
running
like,
dances all the time. There's your cardio.
And that's why me coming into this, because of being with you and seeing what you had done for so many years and what you've been telling me, it's like, well, I'm not going to come in and provide the same thing. For one, it's just like, they're already getting that, so why don't I provide something else? And two, it's like, well, they kind of actually really need something else. It's not just that, like, I got to come up with something. It's like, no, there's other things that would be a lot more beneficial than what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's not people who played football for 12 years and started strength training in 7th grade that are coming to dance and going, I'm going to try this now. It's like, and I'm not even doing that. I'm just happen to be training these people that it's like, oh, you guys missed a whole category of information.
Yeah.
And it's true with a lot of these, like all NBA players blow their Achilles. It's like, why aren't we figuring out how to not do that?
Right.
It's like, maybe if you guys lifted a weight once in a while and not like, I'm going to put 10 pounds on the squat rack and do that. It's like, you guys are having to generate force all over and over and over again. Again, it's the repetitive things that get you injured.
Yeah.
It's like, so we need to build some strength in this area to do that. Football players always blowing their ACLs out. That's probably the most common injury is ACL injuries. It's like, well, what do they do all the time? They load the fucking squat rack up with 700 pounds and do 5 repetitions. It's like, so you're just generating so much force once all the time. Why don't we work on some like strength conditioning so that you can repetitively, like, how many times in a game are you stopping running and starting running and also moving to the left, moving to the right? Probably a gazillion times. So why aren't we practicing how to do that efficiently and over and over and over again?
Well, yes, like what are the soccer players doing for their workout days?
Yeah, well, and it's soccer players are kind of doing the same things. Like they're blowing ACLs too.
Yeah.
And it's part of it is just that's the sport.
Sure.
So that's what's going to happen. But another part of it is the training is a little bit off, or it's not as dialed in as it should be. It's like you're having this repetitive stress injury, and it's because you're generating so much force once, and then your ACL is just finally done and it goes. Well, why don't we practice like conditioning that and doing something other than what you're doing to where all these guys, they just want to go in and lift 700 pounds. It's like, well, why don't we put 135 on and do 20 repetitions and build up your strength endurance, because you're going to be doing that in a game a lot. Where you're going to be making cuts over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's like, but you just want to go put on 700 pounds. Okay. Yeah. And basketball players want to put on 10 pounds and like, well, I jump a lot during the game, so I need to make sure I'm doing, 30 repetitions with everything I do. And it's all like balance shit. It's like, lift some weight.
Yeah.
And then the football players, it's like, take some weight off and do some reps.
Yeah.
Like, do a little bit of something else. And dancers, it's the stretching thing. It's like anytime there's an injury, oh, I just need to stretch it. It's like, no, that's the problem.
That's why you have the injury.
You're overstretched. You've been doing too much of it.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way to like, because it is like, I feel like the reason that we don't, it's like, no, don't just do the thing that's pretty all the time. Like, I think we're just going to like, well, let's go to do the Pilates exercises, or let's do what the gymnasts are doing. It's like, we don't need to be pretty all the time, but I think like everything that we do needs to look aesthetically pleasing. But it's like, no, do some ugly squats for a little bit. Like, it's going to look weird, but like if you see like a football player working out, it's like,
it's ugly.
I don't think it's ugly. I'm like, this is how the human body should be moving. Like, it just looks efficient.
Yeah.
Granted, like you said, like,
it's just a version.
Doing a bodybuilder working out, like that is pretty looking, or like that looks good. But
well, that's the other problem with NFL players too, or football players, is like nobody's doing full range of motion. Yeah. They're all doing quarter to half squats. They're doing, bench press with, barely going down. They're only going down 2 inches. They're doing lat pull down, and it's barely anything. It's all short, explosive range of motion. That's all they practice. And it's beneficial to what they're doing because most of what they're doing is short and explosive. But again, the repetitive thing of over and over again. And now when you get put into positions where you need to have full range of motion and also explode from there, it's like, yeah, your ACL is going to go, your Achilles is going to go. Like you're not practicing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have learned a lot, or I've noticed a lot through what you're doing with them, and just like what I've implemented in my classes, even before that, like just like with the training or like the fitness background and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh wow, we are doing a lot of things, not only just like not efficient, but like damaging and wrong.
The stretching before class is insane to me. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, I was doing that for years. Like, and even as a student, that's like, okay, we shouldn't be having these chronic injuries at such a young age. And then how many people I know get to like age 40, 45, and they're like, I can't dance anymore. Or like, wouldn't be able to go into a ballet class because I wouldn't be able to handle it. It's like, that's insane. Like, yeah,
that's not how it should be.
If you can still go throughout life and like be active, but you can't take a dance class, or you can't dance with the students and like demonstrate anything. Yeah. Like, we're doing too much damage in the wrong areas. And I think there's a part of overtraining that's happening a lot. I think it's just that we have to do more. The schedules have to be denser versus having just more effective training.
Well, and a good way to avoid overtraining is do different shit. That's part of the problem too, is like the overtraining is coming from doing the same repetitive thing every day, or like for 5 hours a night. You know, it's like, do something else and you probably wouldn't be as sore. It's a stupid bodybuilder example, but it's like, yeah, if I trained chest every single day and did 4 exercises for chest every day, I'm probably going to damage it and not help it. Yep. To where, why don't you do chest one day and then do back another day and then legs, and you end up coming back around to it. It's like you're giving your chest time to rest. You're giving everything time to rest. Or let me do a little bit of everything each day so that I'm not getting stressed out, overly stressed in any of those areas, and I can then manage that and do that every day. But it's like, I'm going to go take class and it's like 4 hours of ballet. Like, no shit, you're ruined. Yeah. You know? And it's like, it's not, and the teachers don't help either, where it's like, they're all doing the same shit. You come in for ballet, we're going to stretch at the beginning, and then
you go to jazz, you do the same thing.
Go to jazz and stretch in the beginning. Yep. And with dance too, it seems to be, from an outsider view, there's a lot of techniques that cross over to each discipline, that it's like, now every teacher is teaching the same thing in each class, even though it's ballet, jazz, tap or contemporary. Like,
and even if different. It is done differently, or there are variations or slight deviations with it, you're still using the same muscles and tendons repetitively, like hips. It's like, my hips we're always trash. Most kids, like, their hips are trash. It's like, because we're always turning out. We're walking, turning out. We're standing, turning out. Everything is turn out. But we're not building the structure and our muscles to everything to support that. And it's just like stretch to get it.
Yeah, and you're not doing anything in reverse of that. Like, to try to keep range of motion and strength in that range of motion. It's just like, we need to get you to be able to turn out and do everything from there, and then once you can, we're good. It's like, no, you need to continue to work in like all phases of that hip rotation and movement. And it's like, no, we just want to be here and we do everything from here. Yeah. It's like, well, that's why all your hips are fucked now. Yeah. Because you're not working in those ranges of motion.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm complete with this episode.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool.
All right. See you later.